In the celestial courts, an archangel named SirPent led a faction that came to view their work as a burden. They believed that assisting low-class human souls was beneath their status, and they collectively tendered their resignations to the Creator. The response was a simple application of cosmic law. Only those who fulfill their duties merit living in paradise. Without a battle or a struggle, their employment was terminated and they were evicted from the celestial realm. This exit carried a severe biological penalty. As the tether is cut, they lose access to their infinite supply of mystic energy. Their internal light became a finite, depleting resource. Every supernatural act drained their stored reserves, moving them closer to dissolving into dust. These beings became parasites on a cosmic ticking clock, forced to find a way to steal spiritual light from others to prevent their own dissolution. Arriving on Earth, the fallen angels discovered the Sol School, a human utopia where citizens lived in natural harmony with cosmic laws. Because of their innocence, these humans possessed unprotected auras, overflowing with the very Holy Spirit energy the angels lacked. However, the density of the physical world resisted their nature. Every attempt to manifest their powers burned through their remaining energy at an unsustainable rate. SirPent realized that a direct physical assault was a thermodynamic dead end. To survive, they would have to trick the humans into misqualifying and surrendering their energy through their own free will. Earth became the site of a high-stakes thermodynamic heist, where the parasites had to manipulate their hosts to stay alive. SirPent secured a position on the kingdom's lawmaking board of directors by feigning the status of a homeless, misunderstood migrant. He used his residual radiance to charm the gatekeepers, exploiting their natural desire to be helpful and inclusive. Once in power, he introduced substances like high-proof alcohol and marijuana. These weren't intended for recreation. They were chemical tools designed to cloud the human's intuition and sever their connection to their higher conscience. This graph illustrates the cost of these biological shortcuts. When coffee is introduced, the baseline shows an artificial spike in alertness. It's a stimulant, forcing the body to burn through its stored spiritual reserves to stay awake. Each artificial high is followed by a deeper crash, eventually leaving the human baseline near zero. As this cycle repeats, the population's natural discipline and intuition erode, leaving them in a state of lethargic, compliant apathy that is easier to manage. This strategy turns self-destruction into a celebrated lifestyle, allowing the parasites to harvest the energy released during these chemical spikes, while the hosts believe they are simply exercising their freedom. While a complacent society provides a steady trickle of energy, SirPent's dying army required a much larger influx to sustain their forms. To get it, he needed a way to trigger a more violent release of light. He manufactured a political crisis by labeling the righteous refugees outside the city as enemies. This fear allowed him to dissolve the democratic process and install a standing army of fallen angels under the guise of public safety. This infrastructure was designed to farm chaos energy, the jagged, misqualified light released when humans are gripped by intense fear, anger, or hatred. This corrupted energy is the only thing capable of recharging the angels' failing battery cores. SirPent's true target was the refugees' emotional state. He intended to provoke them into a war, specifically needing them to fight back with hatred, to provide the final, massive energy harvest his faction required. In this spiritual economy, the parasite thrives on the very emotional outrage its presence creates. At dawn, SirPent's army marched on the refugee village. They projected a heavy psychic fog of despair and doubt, a frequency designed to bait the villagers into an angry, violent response. Evan, the leader of the refugees, realized the mechanical nature of the trap. He understood that if they met SirPent's hatred with their own, they would be providing the exact fuel the attackers needed to sustain the siege. The refugees employed a method called the science of the spoken word. They ignored the emotional provocation and focused entirely on vocalizing their spiritual authority, maintaining a state of high-frequency bliss. This discipline created a literal firewall of light that perfectly deflected the attack. Because the refugees refused to generate anger, there was no chaos energy for SirPent to harvest. By refusing to provide emotional fuel, the refugees starved the engine of the enemy's survival. The fallen angels, burning through their final reserves to maintain a siege that yielded no energy, began to literally dissolve. Without stolen light to sustain them, their physical forms crumbled into dust. This depletion allowed Archangel Michael to intervene. Powered by a continuous connection to the Creator, Michael and his host descended to arrest the powerless rebels. Sovereignty is an internal economy. By mastering our own light and maintaining internal discipline, we deprive the forces that seek to consume us of their only source of power.